is 1974 in Deer Park, Texas. This area has a very close-knit community where neighbors trust each other with everything they got, almost like family across the whole neighborhood. And in this very neighborhood on Halloween night, 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien is just absolutely overflowing with excitement. He's dressed in a Planet of the Apes costume, and right next to him is his 5-year-old little sister Elizabeth, going as a princess.
Pretty typical and normal Halloween night, after all. Kids being kids and all that.
Exactly. And Timothy was described as this incredibly sweet, energetic boy. This was the highlight of his year, just like any other kid on Halloween. And tonight, his dad, Ronald Clark O'Brien, would accompany him and his sister. Now, Ronald was a deacon at their local church, and he sang in their choir. He even ran his own bus service during this time. To the outside world, Ronald was the ultimate family man, always trying to provide for his family. But deep down, inside the O'Brien household, things were starting to fracture, all under the weight of a huge, hidden secret. You're listening to PC3 Media's Goblin Radio. We're Cailin and Andrew reporting on the story, and before we go into further details of that night, we want to take a second to acknowledge the gravity of the story. As students and advocates, our goal today is to unmask the truth and properly inform our listeners about the reality of this event. This is a tragedy that affected a real family and a real community in Texas. We're telling a story to honor the victim and to understand an important moment in our culture's history. However, please be advised. The story involves topics of child loss, domestic betrayal, and a premeditated use of poison. We ask that you listen with care.
It's a difficult story to hear, but we believe it's a story that needs to be told, not for the shock factor, but to remember the life that was lost.
With that said, let's look at the night of October 31st. It's a typical, likely cold night. Ronald is escorting his kids and traveling with their neighbor Jim Bates and his son. They're all walking through the neighborhood, knocking on doors and saying, "Trick or treat!" until they make a stop at a dark house on a cul-de-sac. Although they knocked and waited for a few minutes, no one answered. Lights out, no candy. Nothing strange there. So the group moves on, but Ronald stays back. When he finally catches up, he's waving 5 giant pixie sticks in the air like trophies. He tells the kids that a nice neighbor finally came to the door. He gives each of the children, including his own, a pixie stick, with the final 2 being given to other children not in the group, but randomly on the street, all with a smile.
Oh, geez. Was there an actual neighbor there, or was there something else going on?
It gets worse. When they got home, Ronald told his children that they could each pick out 1 piece of candy before bed. Timothy chooses the pixie stick. I say chooses, but it seemed like Ronald really pressured him into picking the pixie stick. And the top is stapled shut. Ronald helps him open it. He even helps him when the white powder won't come out, as it's all clumped together. Timothy takes a mouthful, immediately says it's bitter and gross, and Ronald, knowing exactly why it tastes that way, tells him to wash it down with Kool-Aid. Within minutes, Timothy is in the bathroom, violently throwing up uncontrollably. He starts convulsing on the floor as Ronald holds him, watching the clock as his wife calls 911. By the time they reached the hospital, Timothy had already passed in the ambulance, just less than an hour after consuming the candy. Later, an autopsy would state that he ingested enough potassium cyanide to kill 2 fully grown adults. We have to look at Ronald. In the past 10 years, he has held 21 jobs and couldn't keep a single one of them. He was over $100,000 in debt, which in 1974 was an astronomical amount of money. Today, that's about $634,000. At the time of Timothy's death, he was an optician, but of course he was about to lose that job, about to lose his car, about to lose his home.
So he saw his children as a payout, a way to make easy money.
Literally. Detectives found out that in the months leading up to Halloween, Ronald called multiple insurance companies. He took out $20,000 policies on both Timothy and Elizabeth often. He was so desperate that he even called the insurance company at 9 a.m. the morning after Timothy died. Of course, parents around the area and neighborhoods panicked. Hundreds of candy bags were submitted for inspection to police stations. Thankfully, the police eventually found the other 4 pixie sticks. Ronald had given them to his own children and to 3 other neighborhood kids. It was found that one of the boys who received the pixie stick was actually found asleep in his bed later that night, clutching the poisoned candy. He had tried to open it, but the staples Ronald used were too heavy for his small hands. Those staples are the only reason we're not talking about 5 deaths instead of 1. Ronald was the first and primary suspect, to no surprise. When police searched Ronald's pockets, they found a pocket knife with traces of plastic and powdered sugar. When they went to his workplace, they found he'd been asking his coworkers where to buy cyanide. He told them that he needed it to clean gold, which wasn't even part of his job.
And he probably thought he was the smartest person in the room. He probably thought he could get away with it really easy.
Exactly, it's really crazy. During the trial, the prosecution pointed out that Ronald didn't just want the money, he wanted the sympathy as well. He wanted to be the grieving father, so he pleaded not guilty. But the jury saw through it in 46 minutes. That's how long it took them to find him guilty. He faced 1 count of capital murder and 4 additional counts of attempted murder for each of the children who were given a pixie stick. After a long process over the years of back and forth, he was finally sentenced to death in 1984, a whole decade after his crimes. He was executed by lethal injection. Outside the prison, people were actually cheering, throwing candy, and mocking, "Trick or treat." When we look back at the Candyman case, it's so easy to get lost in the darkness of Ronald's actions. But as we close this episode, we want to shift the focus away from the perpetrator and back to where it belongs, with the victim.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this wasn't just a case. This was a little boy.
Exactly. This was Timothy O'Brien. He was an 8-year-old kid who loved his sister, who went to school every day, and who was just excited to be a kid on his favorite holiday. This poor boy didn't know he was going to be stepping into history. He thought he was just having a fun night with his family. It's a really heavy legacy to carry. Every time we see a check your candy PSA or notice a safety seal in a wrapper, we're actively seeing the shadow of what happened to Timothy. But the real way to honor him isn't just through fear on Halloween. It's through the care we show one another by trying to keep each other safe.
It makes you realize that the safety measures we have now, the ones we sometimes find annoying, are actually a form of protection that Timothy's generation didn't have.
Right. His story changed the world, but it shouldn't have had to. We tell these stories not to sensationalize the tragedy, but to remember the person behind the headline. Timothy O'Brien was a son, a brother, and a friend. And that is how he deserves to be remembered. Not a part of an urban legend, but as a boy who was deeply loved by everyone around him.
That's a really powerful way to look at it.
Thank you for sitting with us through this difficult story. We hope it gave you some perspective on the history behind the spooky holiday we celebrate. For PC3 Media, I'm Cailin Gibson.
And I'm Andrew Copeland.
Stay safe and take care of each other.